All right, language pattern mastery. This is where we get down to the saucy, saucy language that's going to get you the moist pink relief. Yeah? Remember some of the rules. Look here. One of the rules is we don't talk just to be flapping our lips. The speed seducer communicates to capture and lead the imagination and the emotions to generate really strong, nonverbal, positive responses. Yes? You saw what I was doing with Kim yesterday. The speed seducer is also gathering information about the woman's map or model of the world. By map or model of the world, I mean we gather information about the processes and the trance words and the other things that have deep personal meaning to her. What do I mean by personal trance words? Occasionally when you talk to a woman and you ask a certain question, she'll go, oh yeah, it's just like when I feel the destiny, blah, 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 energy, blah, 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 fate. So I listen for the words that she leans on, destiny, energy, fate. I know that for some reason those words mean something to her. For some reason when she says those words, they trigger that deeper level of her mind that contains her fantasies, her strong desires, her strong emotions. Does that make sense? Yeah. My model is that my language is not creating anything. My language is just triggering those emotional processes, those flows of energy, those ways of thinking and fantasizing that are in there anyway. I want you guys to get this. The language patterns are not trickery. They're not creating something or putting something inside of her that is not there. They're not creating anything. They're just evoking and activating stuff that's already in there. My belief is that inside of that woman is already a flow of feelings, a way of thinking, a pattern of responses that are going to cause you to give me that behavior. There's some aspect or part of her that wants to do it anyway. So the language patterns are not magically making her do anything. Do you understand? Even though there are commands and suggestions inside the language pattern, even those commands and suggestions don't create or make anything. They just stimulate what's already there and evoke it. Does that make sense to you? Yes. This will help dissipate any idea that this is somehow hurting or tricking her by making something happen that's not already there. Does that make sense to you? Yes. All right. So those are the basic rules of language patterns. That we're going to use language to capture and lead the imagination and emotion and to stimulate those processes, the flows of feeling, the ways of thinking, the ways of responding that are more likely than not to lead her to give us the behaviors that we want. Remember, we're not over-focused on behaviors. We're focused on the flows of feeling, the internal processes from which those behaviors naturally flow. Does that make sense? We understand that there are different kinds of language. There's language that's laden with specifics and facts and data. And generally speaking, that doesn't get us laid. What gets us laid is any kind of language usage that evokes the right side of the brain and the emotions and the deeper level structures inside the mind. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, when we use language, there are going to be times when we use language that is vague. Because when you use vague language, the only way the person can make sense of what you're saying is to go inside their imagination and match in such a way that their own imagination makes sense of what you're saying. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes. So for example, if I say, you know, Debbie, the reason why you should be attracted to me is my penis is 35% bigger than 90% of the men you'll meet. And it will dilate your vagina to the point where you experience a 98% probability of having a vaginal orgasm that will last at least 30 seconds in the following pulse pattern. Okay, that doesn't work. But if some reason, if in some way I could say, you know, when you stop and you imagine really enjoying the kinds of feelings that let you just go, ooh, I wish they could last even longer. I'm not sure what images come to your mind right now, but you know, you don't have to tell me what those are. You have every right to keep that to yourself because it's not important. What really matters is you feeling absolutely free, really free, to get as excited as you want to when you act on them. You understand? Yeah. Now, did I say anything? No. So we know we want to use vague language. Now, when you use vague language, inside of the vague language, you're going to put commands. So let's talk a little bit about commands.